hold on with us for just a second. We want to get to some breaking news, correct? Yes. Do we have live coverage? No. Okay, so bear with us for just a moment. So I hate to make this hard pivot, but you know, that's what we do here in the Live Impact News. Whenever we have some breaking news, we want to get to it. We have some breaking news out of Fort Stewart in South Georgia. It's been placed on a lockdown due to an active shooter incident. This is coming from, I'm looking at both websites, WSAV out in Savannah, Georgia, and 11 Alive in Atlanta. And so Fort Stewart is located, if you're not familiar, it's located about an hour southwest of Savannah. And it's the home to the U.S. Army's 3rd Infantry Division. Now, here's the information, and here's what we have so far, according to a Facebook post from the base. It says, quote, Fort Stewart is in a lockdown status due to an active shooter incident in the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area. The installation was locked down at 11:04 a.m., and law enforcement is on the scene at the time. Now, the Facebook post also goes on to say casualties have been reported and the situation is ongoing. And so they are going to continue to post updates on their Facebook page. But take a look at this. Is a look at the scene. It's hard to tell what's really going on here because you see cars coming in and out. I believe this is the entrance of the base. So it's definitely hard to tell what is happening. We don't see the law enforcement present, obviously, because we're talking about military base. And so there's layers of security to get into that military base. So this is a look at from our content partners there in Savannah, WSAV. That's the NBC station there in Savannah. And so they got a chance to speak with Lieutenant Colonel Tomko, who said the incident occurred in the 2nd Brigade area, which is not part of the main Fort Stewart area. I want to read that for you again. So Lieutenant Colonel there at the base who said the incident occurred in the 2nd Brigade area, which is not part of the main Fort Stewart area. Carlene, it looks like our content partners in Atlanta may have some coverage. I think they just popped on. Okay. And they obviously are a lot closer to Fort Stewart, but just to kind of give you, again, what we have so far, Fort Stewart in South Georgia is placed on lockdown due to an active shooter incident, and casualties are reported. All right, so we want to get to our content partners there in Atlanta, 11 Alive. This is Cheryl Preheim there at 11 Alive. Again, our content partners, they're following this. Let's take a listen in to their reporting, their coverage.
5 soldiers were injured in this active shooter incident in Savannah. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Fort Stewart. About 10,000 soldiers are stationed there, also including Army civilians working there, of course, their families as well. And what we're hearing is this was all centered around the 3rd Infantry Division headquartered at Fort Stewart there, and the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team is within that. It's also known as the Spartan Brigade, and that is where all of this happened. As of 12:10 p.m., that area is still shut down. This is the 2nd ABCT. So again, that we know that a shooter is in custody. This is one of the Army's most modernized brigades. The U.S. Army refers to the brigade as the most modern, best equipped, most lethal unit in America's arsenal. And this is the brigade that was at the center of this active shooting on the campus here in Savannah. We are following the Facebook page very closely. They are giving us some updates, and what we're seeing first and foremost is all the family members who are commenting. My son's there, my daughter's there, so still a lot of questions from the outside in on who are among the injured. We do not know that answer to that question. However, we do have the confirmation that 5 people were injured. We are looking now through our sister station, WJCL, on the ground, providing these live pictures right now. Governor Kemp has posted a statement already to Facebook as we remain in close contact with law enforcement on the ground. Marty, the girls, and I are saddened by today's tragedy at Fort Stewart. We're keeping the victims, their families, and all those who answered the call to serve in our hearts and prayers. And we ask that Georgians everywhere do the same. We are also hearing from the FBI, also giving us some new information. FBI Atlanta has an office in Savannah, and FBI Atlanta says that office is aware of the incident at Fort Stewart, is coordinating with Army Criminal Investigations Division for any assistance that might be needed. So lockdown has been happening at all the gates around Fort Stewart, but it has also trickled into some school districts in the area of Savannah. So for people, if you have friends or family in that area, if they have children, this is impacting some school districts in that area that are also on lockdown. That could change as confirmation has come in that the shooter is in custody, and the Army base is saying there is no active threat. Let me walk you through the timeline a little bit here. Law enforcement was first dispatched at 10:56 this morning. The shooter was apprehended at 11:35, so about a 39-minute gap between when that first call came in and when that person was in custody. The installation was locked down very quickly. That happened 8 minutes after that first call. You can imagine that was probably a chaotic time, but the response was fast. Fort Stewart lifted the lockdown of the main area at 12:10, so that was about 30 minutes or so after the apprehension of the shooter. Emergency medical personnel dispatched to treat the wounded soldiers at 11:09. So from the first call to help being on the ground for those who were injured was 14 minutes, and the incident remains under investigation, of course. And again, we can, even though we don't have specific information on the conditions of these 5 soldiers, I think it is encouraging they're all being treated on site at that medical facility, because we do know there's a level 1 trauma center about an hour away. But again, all of the 5 injured soldiers are being treated on site at that medical facility. It's the Wynn Army Medical Hospital there on the base. A lot of questions right now, as you can imagine, for everyone who works on the base, who have loved ones on the base. Again, we're talking about a massive area. The base itself is about 280,000 acres, about 10,000 soldiers roughly stationed at Fort Stewart, but then there's also Army civilian employees there. And think about all the families who either are on the base or in that surrounding area. It's located in Hinesville. It's about 41 miles southwest of the city of Savannah. It is the largest Army installation east of the Mississippi River. Again, it covers about 280,000 acres. That includes parts of 6 counties. So when a call like this comes out, there is a massive coordination that happens, as we mentioned, not just for the Army base, but for all those local jurisdictions, for those 6 counties and the schools in the closest proximity to the base, especially in that 40 minutes of time before the initial call and that shooter being in custody. That's when all of the calls out for lockdowns were happening, not just on the base, but in the surrounding area. There was a call out for people to stay inside, lock doors, and that's when the school lockdowns were happening as well. Just a moment ago, we got a new statement in from Buddy Carter that we see here on the screen. Representative Buddy Carter writing, "I am monitoring the situation at Fort Stewart. Please join me in prayers for the casualties, their families, and the brave law enforcement officers working to protect our community." Everyone coming together now, thinking of the 5 that we can confirm were injured in this active shooting at Fort Stewart. Let me just reset for those of you who are just joining us. We're covering breaking news about 40 miles outside of Savannah at Fort Stewart Army Base. An active shooter was called into law enforcement at 10:56 this morning, and the call out came to lock everything down on the base and in the surrounding area. We know the center point of this investigation is the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team, also known as the Spartan Brigade. That is the specific division in the area they say the shooting happened. Again, we know 5 soldiers are injured and as we speak are getting medical attention, being treated there. Worth repeating, shooter is in custody, and we are told there is no active threat. Fort Stewart Army Air Force Base is updating on Facebook because, of course, they're being inundated from friends and family wondering what's happening. As I scroll through the comments, what you're seeing is my son's there, my brother's there, I have a friend that works there, and everybody wondering if it's someone they know, people trying to deal with that communication, but they are not releasing right now the names of the 5 injured, nor are they talking about the conditions of those people. Another statement just coming in now from the White House from Caroline Leavitt. The president has been briefed on the shooting at Fort Stewart in Georgia. The White House is monitoring the situation. So all eyes on the state of Georgia right now as this is unfolding as we speak outside of Savannah. Of course, Georgia has a big military presence and so many military members based here in Georgia, and Fort Stewart is among the biggest. We have mentioned it's the largest Army installation east of the Mississippi River. We know the governor, the president's office now, the FBI, all working collectively to keep an eye on any new information that's coming in. 5 soldiers shot in an active shooter incident. Again, this is Fort Stewart, Georgia. You're looking at this live picture on the left and an overview on the right, which shows it's about 40 miles away from Savannah. But that picture on the right, that image, that map really shows you how massive this base is. 280,000 acres, more than 10,000 soldiers, 5 of whom are now getting medical treatment. You know, there had been talk on the Facebook page about who can have a weapon on the base, which is interesting, and some of the soldiers there were saying that only the MPs carry, so one big.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right now, we are following breaking news out of South Georgia. Here's what we have so far, and here's what we've been reporting regarding an active shooter incident at the Army base. Right now, we know there is no active threat. This is a live look from our content partners there in Savannah, Georgia. We do know 5 soldiers were hurt during this incident. All victims are at the hospital, and again, the complex is on lockdown. Now, here's we got about 15 minutes ago, we got a statement and a release from Fort Stewart on their Facebook page, and it says 5 soldiers were shot today in an active shooter incident in the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area. All soldiers were treated on site and moved to Wynn Army Community Hospital for further treatment. There is no active threat to the community. So that is the latest information that we have there from the base. We want to go back now to our content partners there in Atlanta they are following the story. So let's tune back in to what's going on for the latest. This looks like they're reading a statement from Senator Raphael Warnock.